This is really a pertinent question because I think a lot of people don't really have a clear cut understanding of what a late stage alcoholic is. And this is what we're talking about. But the question goes like this: do you remember possibly what Amanda's last words or conversations to you were? She was my wife. She passed away a little over 4.5 years ago from alcohol use disorder. I tell it, if you follow me at all, you would understand. You're well aware of that. She fell down a flight of stairs in her seventh rehab, and then the rehab itself put her in UCLA, which was only about a mile away. Luckily, it was very close, and she ended up being there for 28 days. So the rest of this question goes, or last interaction with my wife you had with Amanda that provided insight into her thoughts as she grew closer to death. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people don't understand what late alcoholic really means, stage 4. This is when someone is really their whole life revolves around getting alcohol, consuming alcohol, recovering from alcohol, and then doing it all over again. Their life really centers around getting alcohol, and really, that's their entire life, literally, and it's a downward cycle. So by the time somebody gets to a late stage alcoholic, I mean, they're clinically insane for all intents and purposes, because if you have taken a class 1 carcinogen, which is alcohol, for decades, it's going to affect every body part, every organ in your body, including your brain. And like many people, my wife definitely had Wernicke-Korsakoff, or better known as wet brain, when she passed away. So let's continue this a little further. Now, when I took my wife to the last rehab, she really wasn't making a whole lot of sense. Her last months were watching television about 18 hours a day and getting alcohol. I mean, however she did, that's not really the point of the conversation, but that was really what she was doing, and it's really what a lot of alcoholics do. Unfortunately, they lose their purpose in their life at this point because they become so addicted and consumed by the alcohol. But she was unable to really have a legible conversation probably the last 6 months, maybe almost up to a year of her life. Very little meaningful conversation. And she certainly, when I took her to the hospital, or when I took her to the last rehab rather, she had difficulty talking, walking, thinking. I mean, you'd ask her a question and it was blank space. It felt like it was dementia. And I guarantee, we didn't know it at the time because I took her to the rehab. She fell down the flight of stairs the following day, and she was essentially in a coma the last 4 weeks of her life. I never had a conversation with her again. A lot of people don't understand that. She had like 10, 12 operations, and she was heavily sedated. So the 3 times that I went to go see her when she was in the hospital, we never had a conversation. And this story really isn't just resonates with my wife and my story. This is really what a stage 4 alcoholic is, because you're going to get Wernicke-Korsakoff. You're going to have a form of dementia. There's no way around it. If you're putting class 1 carcinogens in your system every day of your life, and that volume has increased, it's going to affect your brain. There's almost there's no way that it can't, and it's very sad for families because they also become very combatant. They will be full of denial. Everything will be everybody else's fault. And even if they do, even if they are consciously aware that they have a problem, they're still going to fight you on it because they want to drink. At the end of the day, that's what they want to do. And the only saving grace that they really have is they have to be separated from the alcohol for a period of time. It's the only chance they really have, to be honest. 60 days would be preferable. If all you get is 30 in a rehab, go with that. But then they have to go, highly recommend, a sober living facility. But you have to have somebody that's going to cooperate. And they're not going to have any cooperative emotions as a late stage alcoholic until they are separated from the alcohol for a period of time, so that they can at least repair some of their cognitive understanding of what's going on around them. It's a very scary and horrible place to be. And I really made this for people who, families that are going through this, because they certainly understand that. And for those who don't, it's not there's no rationality left. And it really is a journey into madness, certainly with a late stage 3, stage 4 alcoholic. And unfortunately for families, it becomes literally an impossible situation. There is no good answer when somebody gets to this point. When you don't have somebody who's unwilling or unable to get help for themselves, even though they might even have an awareness that they have a problem, but the addiction has taken over, and that's all that matters. It's more important than any relationship. It's more important than children, spouses, parents, and anything in their life. Unfortunately, at that point. And that's why it's so important to create awareness and get to people before they get to this point. And unless we talk about it, unless we bring this to the surface, it's going to keep happening. So it's so important to get it earlier, the better, just like any disease. And again, I have a complete coaching program. It's called There's an Alcoholic in the Family. Link is in the bio. Set up a breakthrough call. It's a Zoom call. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour. We do a deep dive into what's going on with you and your family. And then I go over the program. First, I want to find out if you're a good fit, because I'm looking for people who want to change their lives and the lives of their family. Now, the coaching program, the call is free. The coaching program definitely isn't, but there's has to be a degree of commitment, and that's all part of it. But I've changed thousands of people's lives, and I'd like to change yours as well. And again, thanks for listening.